Thank you very much, and good day to you and to all those who have joined us this morning. I too will be brief in my salutations and get straight into the presentation. I've been asked to talk about some of the ways in which technology can be used to create and to sustain the game-changing attorney. But I think it's important for us to recognize that this discussion is taking place inside of a context, a global context, that itself has been a game changer for attorneys and for the industry, not just here in the Caribbean, but worldwide, and that is the COVID-19 pandemic. And so in discussing our look at how technology applies itself, I think it's important for us to recognize that there is an extent to which the issues around the use of technology for attorneys, for law practices, is not a question of it's optional or I like this or I don't like that. It's now a question of professional survival. The circumstances around us has created a condition in which we all have to adapt and evolve to stay relevant. So I think it's reasonable to say that the game-changing attorney is more than just a technology savvy attorney. The game-changing attorney strives to be a savvy attorney, thinking constantly about ways to improve, to evolve, and to excel. And I want this to be the foundation of our talk this morning, because the circumstances within which we're having this conversation is one in which a revolution is already underway in terms of how the delivery of legal services is being done in the Caribbean. And one aspect of that revolution, which Dennis touched upon, is the fact that consumers in need of personal or business legal services are increasingly turning to the internet for their advice and assistance. And this shouldn't come as a surprise. Many of us, we use technology in that way for goods, for banking, for home repairs. And now that we are in various forms of lockdown and various forms of restrictions because of the pandemic, we have done so increasingly. And so people are going online for almost every aspect of their needs, both for personal and for professional. This session is going to look at and provide a practical overview of how we can use various tools, tips, and techniques for lawyers wishing to make their mark in the legal profession, but also in terms of those who are looking to deliver higher quality legal services to clients online. And of course, for overall brand building and client relationship development. This is not going to be an in-depth tutorial. Obviously, we don't have the time for that, but we do want to discuss some of the more affordable and accessible options for automating services and functions and for building an online brand. And that's what we'll be looking at. The key is knowledge, knowing what technology to apply to what challenges that are being faced. There are options, but ultimately, technology is a servant to our defined needs, to our defined priorities, and of course, to our vision. It's merely a tool. In the context of this talk and in the context of a game-changing attorney, the issue is more along the lines of what kind of investment we make in understanding how technology can best serve our needs. And that's what we'll be looking at today. And I want to break it into 4 areas to make our talk as concise as possible. 4 areas in which we can put technology to work for us. The first would be profile, which Dennis has touched on, with the issue of how we build our projection of our personal brand and our corporate brand online. The next would be professionalism, looking at how we can digitize critical functions, both for personal productivity and office productivity, but also how we can secure personal and client data. That's very important. And the third area would be partnerships and cultivating the types of strategic relationships with colleagues, with clients, and with service providers. And then the fourth area we'll be looking at is performance, how to stay ahead, how to enhance service quality, and how to improve productivity and performance. So let's jump straight in and look at the issue of profile management. And for this, we want to consider the reality that today, the instinctive response of persons looking for anything really is to Google it, to use a search engine. What we find on the first page of these online searches that we do tends to be accepted as the most relevant response or inquiry. even if it isn't. And the game-changing lawyer must therefore actively manage how their projection is received online and how they influence their own online reputation. Because here's a fact that we have to accept and deal with in today's digital world. If I search for you online and all I find is you at a party, or some response from a jilted partner or a disgruntled worker or dissatisfied client bad-mouthing you or maligning you, or a report on how badly you lost a case, or even a competitor planting their version of your story, that's going to shape and impact my perception of your professionalism, my perception of your competence, my perception of your ability to meet the needs that I'm looking for. So one can say in a 21st century context, reputation management in the digital age requires you to take control of your narrative. And that's a very important thing for us to understand. If you don't, someone else somewhere else will, whether it's an algorithm or whether it is someone seeking to do mischief, or whether it is the loud sound of silence when someone looks for you online and can't find anything and concludes, therefore they can't be real, or they can't be as competent or can't be as professional. Those things now impact in a very real way how we are perceived in our profession online. According to a 2020 local consumer review survey, 87% of consumers are now reading online reviews for local businesses. Again, no surprise. The impact of COVID has forced people online and forced them to do the kind of footwork using their keyboards now to determine if something is what they're looking for. Clients want to feel that they can trust local service providers, and online reviews are playing a huge role in instilling trust in consumers. Now, what's the implication for the game-changing lawyer? Well, simply, there is no room anymore for I don't like Facebook, I don't like smartphones, I don't like technology. The issue is not whether we like it or not. The issue is how does it help support and advance our professional goals, objectives, and ambitions. Managing your online profile is managing your business. And that's a key for us to recognize when we are looking at what does this mean for how we take advantage of some of the tools that are available for profile management. So then it's referred to websites, whether it's a personal website or company website. That's one of the important ways, but there are several other growing or emerging critical platforms that you have to be found on to be considered real online. One of them would be LinkedIn, the professional social network, where people look to see credentials, they look to see which networks you're a part of, how are you influencing thought in your chosen area of expertise or area of practice. They look to Facebook to see if you're okay on the both personal level, but also if your business is savvy enough to be brought on, or to be your services is savvy enough to be taken on. They look to Twitter to see what kind of statements are being made by you and how it impacts the overall dialogue around the areas that you are professing expertise in. And even now for a new emerging generation, they look to Instagram to see what is a visual projection of who you are. Not just your professional bona fides, but also your personal interests, because people want, as it is indicated, they want a whole experience. They want to know that they're dealing with someone who is trustworthy, but they also want to know that they're dealing with someone who can understand them and the issues that they're going through. And so these tools, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, whether it is your personal site, your corporate site, they all together create a profile or a projection of you online. And so profile management is key. The second area that we want to look at is professional operations. And I think this was referred to also in Suden's presentation, the importance of using the right tools to get the job done. Technology can help streamline operations, but importantly, it can also help amplify the capacity of small and large firms alike. And I've spoken to attorneys who have been burdened literally by the movement of physical files from their offices to their homes as a result of the pandemic, and the inability to easily share those files with junior attorneys who had to help with research and so on. So whether we're talking electronic filing for retrieving case documents, or we're talking doing research, tracking schedules or appointments, or managing clients, every attorney should have in their toolbox a set of software and technology-based resources to help with file management, calendaring, contact management, data protection, whether it's backup or antivirus, video conferencing now, very important, and of course, the mobile devices to help ensure that we can go around and continue to perform. But of course, not everyone will have the capacity in-house to do this. And that's an important thing for us to recognize. Today's fast-paced world requires that innovative attorneys keep up or be left behind. But if you don't have the resources, if you're not technology savvy, you can be savvy in how you pick your partners. Game changers need to develop strategic partnerships. And these partnerships could be virtual, that's investing in platforms like CaseText or VLEX Justice, or an e-filing system like Clio. The partnerships could be institutional. Being a part of OCBA is a part of a strategic partnership to gain and accelerate the acquisition of knowledge and the network relationships. But partnerships can also be outsourced. There are many competent local and regional IT organizations and media service providers that can help amplify, accelerate, and enhance how we use technology. And so picking partnerships is key. But ultimately, digitization and automation, as central as they are, as foundational as they are, as important as they are not sufficient to create constant game-changing capacity. And I think we can say excellence is not an end state, it's a constant pursuit. And so for the game-changing attorney, thinking about ways to improve, thinking about ways to evolve, and thinking about ways to excel, such an attorney will have to have an abiding sense and an abiding sensitivity to one's current state relative to one's preferred state. And that's where our final pillar of performance becomes so important. Excellence requires us to manage our movement from where we are to where we want to get to very carefully. And as the management axiom goes, you can't manage what you are not measuring. And so in our technology toolkit, or in the technology toolkit for the game-changing attorney, we have to add analytical tools that help to track and measure performance, both personal performance and professional performance. And for those of us who in lockdown place a new emphasis on personal fitness and wellness and so on, I'm sure you would have invested in some kind of smart device to monitor heart rate, to monitor pulse, to monitor calories and so on. A similar thing needs to be done for how we approach the issue of managing our practice. Knowing where we want to find, seek, and tweak improvements means measuring how we are managing and how we are operating in the real sense, real time, so that we can use anything from, and the tools here are quite readily available, from spreadsheets that track response times to clients' requests, to actual performance and project management tools that help us do detailed metrics around things like closure, around things like moving from prospect to actual client, how we handle our multiple engagements. All of those can be tracked using appropriate management tools within the context of our operations and practice. But the key is to understand the mentality that drives it, the constant pursuit of excellence, the constant desire to improve, and the constant desire to excel. And that in conclusion is how we can bring about a game-changing approach to how we use technology, because ultimately technology itself is not the game changer. The game changer is how we choose to use it. And it's safe to say that both OCBA and Apex support and want to see a lot more of game-changing attorneys in the Caribbean. So I hope this talk was helpful, and I hope we'll have some questions that we can all share and exchange ideas on how to become the game-changing attorney. Thank you.